In the first episode of this series, we learnt how to play the C major scale in the open position. Today we're going to use that position to learn 3 patterns that will improve your technique, your understanding of the fretboard, and your ability to improvise. If you don't know how to play C major scale in the open position, click this link now and learn it, because everything that we're going to do today is going to be coming straight out of that position. We'll get into how to use these patterns a bit later on, but for now, grab your guitars and let's get into some patterns. Let's recap by looking at what we did in the first lesson. So we play the C chord. We start from this note here, C. We go all the way up to here. So. And then we go backwards all the way to where we started. But we keep going to the low E from here. So like this. And then we go back up to C like this. And then play the chord again. So that whole thing is like this. So that's the requirement to be able to do this lesson. The first pattern I'm going to call 1, 2, 3. You start from the first note in the scale and you play 3 consecutive notes, 1, 2, 3. Then you start from the second note of the scale and you play 3 consecutive notes, 2, 3, 4. From the third note of the scale, 3, 4, 5. From the fourth note of the scale, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so on and so on. I've included the tab below as we go, so there'll be a tab coming up down the bottom of what we're doing, so you can follow along with that. But what I really want you to be able to do is to understand the pattern so that you can take it around the whole guitar and you don't need a piece of sheet music to help you. Just to recap on what those numbers mean, C would be 1, D would be 2, E would be 3, F 4, G 5, A 6, B 7. The first group will be C, D, E. Then we move to the second note, which is D, and we go D, E, F. And then we go to the third note, which is going to be E, F, G. Fourth note, which is the F, F, G, A. The fifth note, G, so G, A, B. And then finally A, B, C. Now I've gone through it very quickly there, but to learn this properly you might need to spend time on each group. So I recommend learning it like this. Do the first group, then learn the second group, then put them together but with a gap, like this. Then learn the third one, so that starts from E, and then go back to the start and go. And you can do that all the way up to the octave, like this. Now let's try the backwards version of this. You start from C, and you're going to go C, B, A. C, B, A. Start from B, and you're going to go B, A, G. From A, G, F. And then G, F, E. And then F, E, D. E, D, C. So then the whole pattern goes like this, forwards and backwards. Now backwards. Now I'm going to take it all the way up to this high G like we did with the scale last week. And then I'm going to go all the way back down from that note, that high G, all the way to the low E. From that low E all the way up to this C here. The whole thing goes like this. Now would be a good time to pause the video and learn every little bit in stages. So start with that first octave. And then extend that. Then learn it backwards within the octave. And then backwards all the way from the high G to the low E. And then finally that last little bit that goes from the E to the C. For a PDF of all of these exercises in tab form, click the link in the description below, and that will take you to my website where you'll be able to access that. If you've learnt the first pattern well, this second pattern is just going to feel like a natural extension of what you just did. You're going to play 4 consecutive notes in the scale instead of 3. That means we start at the first note and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this time, instead of just going back to the previous note, you have to skip down 2 steps. We've started at C, we go C, D, E, F. And then we go from D, D, E, F, G. From E, E, F, G, A. And so on. And we'll do the same thing as we did before, we'll just complete 1 octave. Backwards, so now we go C, B, A, G, and then B, A, G, F, A, G, F, E, G, F, E, D, F, E, D, C. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to go through every little step, but just practice it in the same way that you did with the 1, 2, 3 pattern. So I go all the way to the high G. And then all the way down from that high G to the low E. And finally, from the E up to the C again. The final pattern that we're going to look at today is called the thirds pattern. You start at the first note and you skip one. So we start at the C and we skip the D and go to the E. C to E. And then we go back one. We go back to the D from there. So C, E, back to the D. We skip the E this time and go to the F. So we're doing it in groups of two. We're going C, we skip one, we get to the E. And then we start from the D, so that's one step behind, up to the F. We go back to the previous note, which is E. And then we skip to the G. So we've got C, E, D, F, back to the E, G, then we go F, A, back to the G, skip the A to the B, to the A. So that whole thing is like this. Let's take that all the way up to that high G. Now we're going to do the backwards one, but we're just going to start it from that high G and go all the way to the low E. So the backwards one, we go G, we skip the F here and go straight to E, and that's your first group. Then we go up one from E to F, and then down to the D, skipping the E. So we've gone G, E, F, D, and then E, C, and then D, B, and then C, A. So once again, when you're practicing this, just do a little bit at a time. See if you can go. And then learn the next one. And then the next one. And then put all that together. In the interest of saving time, I'll just go from this note all the way down to the low E. Okay, so I'll do the whole pattern like we've been doing before, starting at the C, all the way to the high G, backwards from the G all the way to the low E, and then from the low E up to the C. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you found this lesson helpful. If you did, click the subscribe button. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll get back to those, and I'll see you next week.